What's going on with my Leets and Geeks? Today we are going to be taking a look at the Blade Runner RPG. Now, I've done a video on this before. However, at that time, I didn't have a physical copy of the game, so that's why I went in the direction that I did with that video. And I referenced that video in this video, so you can go ahead and go to that video after you watch this video in the link in the description. But now that I have a physical copy of the game, we're going to take a look on the inside to see what you will get if you decide you want to go this route. And trust me, folks, this one right here, this is a good game. And the reason why I say that is because I didn't like the movies, right? I couldn't even get through the second movie, 2049. I didn't like it. I did watch the first one, and I was just impressed at the actual scenery and stuff. The sci-fi special effects was just before its time. It still looks good. And that was what, early 80s? Good grief. It did a great job on that. But just really wasn't digging the movies. But I do dig this game. So, hey, that'll tell you something. So let's get into this, folks. We're going to take a look at what all of this is. And then on the other side, I got a couple little extra things that I want to tell you guys about the game. And then we've got the question of the vid. That's it, y'all. So you know what that means. We got to roll that transition. So this is the hardcover of Blade Runner. And it is a glossy hardcover. This is a first for Free League in that department. The inside, of course, they still have these semi-glossy pages here, so you can see my light kind of shining off of it. So that's still the same. Now, inside the cover here, you will find a map of central Los Angeles. And this is the same map that's in the back of it. This is a 229 pages. It's got a small index in the back here, too. Right here. And then in the very back, you have your character sheet, and this right here is your case file time tracker. Now, I'm not going to get into that today, but I'll probably get into that in a separate video. But let's take a look little by little and bit by bit in the inside of the Blade Runner RPG. Past and future collide in the story of humanity's greatest creation and its greatest fear. In chapter 1, Fiery the Angels Fell, it dives into the history of the Blade Runner universe from the definition of a Blade Runner, which it lays out right here. And this is in their New American Dictionary in that universe. I thought that was kind of cool. I like that. It also presents a detailed timeline of what's happened so far. I really like the way they laid out this timeline. And it touches on the rise of replicants and the Tyrell Corporation to the events of where you come to in 2037. Now, you can't see it here because of my light, so let me kind of put it in here. So it goes all the way to 2037, which is the time where all of this takes place. The game stresses the cinematic style of gameplay and how it incorporates investigation, action, and emotional depth. So in other words, folks, this game is for real adults. In Chapter 2, your Blade Runner, you have to answer a question. Are you a human chasing replicants or a replicant questioning your humanity? So this is the chapter where you are going to be creating your character. And that's one of the first things that you're going to have to decide is whether you're going to be a human or a replicant. But you decide your other things like your archetype, and it has 12 of them down here. Your attributes, your skills, how old you are, going down these background list here, which is really cool. Like these key memory tables and all the rest of that. That's really cool. Key relationships and things like that. I love how they do that. They emphasize customization and backstory to bring in that personal stakes into the narrative for your character. Really dig that. Now, I've already done a complete video where I created my character, Darius Keeler. And you can go ahead and hit the link in the description of this video if you want to go ahead and see how all of this works. In the skills and specialties chapter, it has a version of the Year Zero engine, which is the engine that runs most of Free League Publishing's games, but it's a version of it. The reason why I call it a version of it is that you still have to roll a 6 or higher, but you're not rolling a pool of dice in this one. You're going to be rolling just 2 polyhedral dice. So in this chapter, you'll go over the mechanics of the game. You can see this again at work in my video that I have in the link in the description. But it'll tell you things like your chances of success, opposed rolls, what it means to roll with an advantage or disadvantage, things like that. And then it gives you the actual descriptions for each of your skills and a list of the description of the specialties. So what's going to happen when words fail? Are you going to pull the trigger or just come out swinging? Or are you going to try to find another way? Well, here in chapter 4, we start talking about combat and chases. Now, this outlines the rules for combat and social conflicts. It blends tactical mechanics with cinematic drama. So you got to love that. So you can see it talks about zones and range and rounds and initiative. And it covers basic combat actions like here, movement, vehicle combat, and chases. Plus a whole lot more like damage and critical charts and all the rest of that. And of course, it also includes their stress mechanic in the stress and resolve section of this chapter, which is something that is pretty much standard fare in many Free League games like Alien and Vassin. Step into a world of neon lights, artificial humans, and impossible choices. In chapter 5, The Tale of Two Cities, it dives deep into the landscape of the city of Los Angeles in 2037. Check out this headline right here, because replicants are a big deal. And people are pretty scared of what their being around represents or could entail. Now, the city has been divided. And in the section, The Great Divide, it talks about the lowborns and high society. And then that's just another way of just saying the haves and the have-nots. That's all that is. It talks also about the city life here and the culture, the climate, law and order. And then it gets to central Los Angeles and breaking down the different sectors of the city. So like this right here, you have Sector 5. And along with that, you have it highlighting major landmarks and places of interest in each sector. That's an apartment. And there's another one, different landmarks and things like that. In chapter 6, The Powers That Be, now this is going to get into the different factions of the city. It has this like interview here with this blind, I think it's more of he's a CEO or something. And it has this interview here. I thought that was kind of cool to start it off. But then you'll get into the different factions like the government agencies, special interests, the media, criminal enterprises, and the influential Wallace Corporation, which is this Neander Wallace, which is the blind guy that was in that article. They are a major force in the Blade Runner universe. This chapter also lays out the background of the replicants. It also gives you that definition once again in the New American Dictionary of replicants. So even replicants are now in the dictionary of the future. Chapter 7, Working the Case. Now this chapter focuses on the culture of the RDU. Again, we got another New American Dictionary definition here. That stands for Rep Detect Unit, and that's just Blade Runner HQ. I've got a picture right here that I think looks really cool, and that is a huge place. Now it lays out the details of who in charge, like right here it has the division hierarchy, and then it talks about the different departments and divisions of the RDU. You got your criminal investigation, your security and special forces, your forensic sciences, your administration, and you have your Wallace resources because, yep, the Wallace Corporation does have its fingers supporting, so to speak, the RDU. Every case is a story, and every story is a test of loyalty, morality, and survival. Chapter 8, The Tools of the Trade. The tech of tomorrow is in your hands, so you gotta use it wisely. So this features the pieces of equipment employed by Blade Runners. This goes from weapons to vehicles to investigative gadgets. This one right here, you guys saw me get in. I think everyone gets this. Every Blade Runner gets one of these, gets a badge. And there's also iconic things that you've seen in the movies, like the Voight Kampf machine. Remember that? And also, hold up, y'all. Wait a minute. In the very back here, let me see if I can find it. Oh, there it is. The Detective Special Spinner vehicle. The last part of this is for game masters only. This is running Blade Runner, and it provides guidance for what they call game runners or GMs, however you want to call it. And it focuses on building noir-inspired stories, balancing investigation and action, and creating morally complex narratives. Really love this game. So you have here key themes, playing scene by scene, the anatomy of a case file, because it does things in case files, and I'm going to be revealing a case file that they had sent me. So we're going to do kind of not an unboxing, but an unveiling of that one. Right here it talks about playing investigations, downtime, and so forth. So it gives you some guidance in how to craft a story as unforgettable as the cityscape of Los Angeles. 3 things that I would like to tell you about the Blade Runner Tabletop RPG is, number 1, it's not for large groups. And I mean that. It's about 2 people is the sweet spot where you want to keep it in terms of the amount of players playing. You might be able to get away with 3, but it's really not set up for that because it encourages you to split up and go in different directions. It encourages you to do that. Most sessions don't, or most games don't. This one does, just because of how the game is set up. So 2 is the sweet spot in terms of the amount of players. Another thing too, that is a kind of a cool mechanic, and it's optional, so you don't have to do this, but you can make a human character, then have your GM roll secretly, and they're going to note what they rolled. Now, if they roll a 6 on a 6-sided die, then you are secretly a replicant, like model Nexus 8 or Nexus 9, but you don't know it. Only the GM does. And they have the responsibility of working that into the narrative as you play through it. You would think you're a human until you discover you're a replicant, and then things change for your character. I thought that is that's one of the coolest optional mechanics that I like, really like it. And the last thing is that they do have a separate case file, which would be like an adventure, but it's a box set, so it's the whole deal. It's called Fiery Angels. This is it right here. Now, you guys might have seen me do my unboxing on this, and I still have this in the shrink wrap. We're going to do an unveiling of this, just like I mentioned in the video, because, I mean, this is something all by itself, y'all. So those are 3 things, just 3 little details there that you're gonna need to know if you're interested in getting Blade Runner. This is a dope game. I've got 3 hours worth of footage for this game. I wasn't running it. I was playing. I was a player. I was digging it. Loved it, man. So we're gonna have that for our members, and I'll have some samples up here on the channel as well. But those who are in my beta membership right now, they're gonna get the full Monty on this. Well, if you got anything valuable out of this video, folks, could you do me a solid and could you give me a little YouTube algorithm love and crush that like button? Oh, you didn't think I was going to do it, did you? Also, if you want to stick around, I'll come out with videos every Tuesday, and sometimes, like today, I'll come out on another day. Normally it's going to be a Friday, but I might, if I'm feeling it, come out on some other day too. So if you don't want to miss any of those videos, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. All right, that means it's time for the question of David. So you've seen a little bit about Blade Runner. You've seen a little bit about it. So does this game interest you at all? And if it does, what aspect of the game interests you the most that you've heard about or that you maybe have seen and discovered in this video? Let's get some engagement going down in the comments right now, y'all. Right now. All right, well, that's it. That means it's time for your boy to do his snaggle puss.
So exit, stage left.
Hey, y'all, if you got a game coming up this weekend, happy gaming. I pray it is an RPG Elite session. So until next time, God willing, it's your boy, Servant. In the meantime, between time, watch this video. And me, I gots to say peace. 5,000 leets. That's right. I am outie.